Previously on the show, the Salvatore brothers were preparing to team up against their mother, while Damon captured heretic Oscar to trade him for Elena. However, Valerie killed Oscar, so in order to continue the hostage exchange, Damon used the Phoenix Stone to resurrect Oscar. Alaric then used the Phoenix Stone to revive Joe, but it seemed that Joe had lost her memory. Valerie revealed the secret of the Phoenix Stone to the Salvatore brothers, and Stefan learned about Valerie's past and the child they lost. Meanwhile, Lily used the Phoenix Stone to resurrect her lover, Julian. The story picks up right where the last episode left off. The Salvatore brothers disagree on when to kill Julian. Damon's idea of revenge is to let him experience happiness before plunging him into despair. He plans to rip out his stepfather's heart and deliver it to his mother in 6 months. But Stefan couldn't wait that long. He wanted to kill Julian tonight. Because this morning, he had a dream where he was hunting with his son. If it weren't for Julian's evil deeds, his child would not have died. To celebrate her lover's return, Lily decides to throw a grand party tonight, and the Salvatore brothers have both received invitations. Lily doesn't expect her 2 sons to accept Julian as their stepfather. She just hopes they can bury the hatchet. Since Julian's resurrection, he's replaced Lily as the head of the family, and all the heretics adore him. Although Julian is unremarkable in appearance, he is full of charm. He wins over Beau by appealing to his interests, and when Nora and Mary argue, Julian smooths things over with just a few words. Julian always manages to dispel everyone's worries. That's why Lily is so devoted to him, because Julian is the perfect man. In the evening, Stefan arrives at the party and finds that his mother has hypnotized many residents from a neighboring town to attend. She assures Stefan that she won't harm these innocent people. Damon, intent on stopping Stefan, also attends the party. He can't understand why Stefan hates Julian so much. Why can't he just wait a few more months? As the brothers argue, Julian approaches them, acting overly friendly. Stefan forces a smile, suppressing his murderous intent. Matt, the only cop in town, also shows up at the party, completely unafraid of the heretics. Enzo and Bonnie happened to meet when they arrived, so Enzo suggested that Bonnie pretend to be his dance partner. Stefan invites Julian to play pool as part of his plan to assassinate him. Because a broken pool cue could be used as a weapon, Damon sees right through Stefan's plan. In order to protect his own perfect revenge scheme, he has to stop his brother, so Damon quickly makes up a story about a vampire being stabbed at a pool table, practically exposing Stefan's intentions. Julian catches on to Damon's warning, his expression darkening. Stefan hid his embarrassment with a smile. He now understands that to kill Julian, he'll have to deal with Damon first. Julian then approaches Beau, asking him to help find something. Enzo overhears the conversation and learns that what Julian is looking for is in Oscar's car. He shares this information with Bonnie. Bonnie gently adjusted Enzo's tie as Lily was watching them closely.
Make her a little jealous.
Maybe a little.
The party neared its end, and there were no casualties. As Bonnie was preparing to leave, a dull-looking man asked her for directions to the town's high school. Since the town had become a ghost town, the school had long been abandoned. This raised Bonnie's suspicions, and she told Matt about it. They intended to head to the school to investigate, but Matt suddenly received a text message. He told Bonnie to wait for him outside. Meanwhile, Stefan pulled Damon into a bedroom, irritated by his brother's interference. Damon scrutinized his brother, sensing the murderous aura around him, and suddenly realized that Stefan was hiding something. Just as the 2 brothers were about to confront each other, Matt arrived with a bottle of fine liquor to diffuse the tension. And with Damon's nature, there was no way he'd let Matt enjoy the booze alone. Unexpectedly, the wine was poisoned. Stefan teamed up with Matt to knock Damon out with poison, as Stefan was determined to take his revenge on Julian. This was the vampire's backyard, a room full of humans hooked up to IV drips, like walking corpses serving as living blood bags for the vampires.
It's not gonna work, Matt. Someone compelled them to be here.
After the heretics' party ended, the hypnotized guests didn't return to their homes, but instead headed straight for the town's high school. This raised Bonnie and Matt's alarm, so they went to investigate and were met with a shocking sight. Stefan, filled with rage, then marched toward Julian, attacked him with a wooden stake, and threw him into the fireplace. Lily intervened to stop him, preventing Stefan from succeeding. At that moment, Damon woke up. He wanted to take Stefan away, but Julian was unwilling to let him go. While he wasn't angry about Stefan's ambush, the way the brothers treated their mother deeply offended Julian, who loved Lily with all his heart. As their stepfather, Julian felt it was his duty to discipline the two brothers on Lily's behalf. Julian finally revealed what he had experienced while trapped in the Phoenix Stone. The Phoenix Stone was a personal hell for vampires, where they were forced to endure endlessly repeating nightmares, with time losing all meaning. The only thing that kept Julian going, the reason he managed to escape, was his love for Lily. Julian's heartfelt words moved Lily deeply. But in the next instant, Julian suddenly attacked the brothers. With over 400 years of power, Julian had the upper hand, and the brothers were no match for him. At the last second, Lily stepped in to stop Julian, allowing the brothers to escape. The furious Julian now felt like a stranger to Lily. The hell of the Phoenix Stone had changed the man she once loved. Meanwhile, the fake Joe's condition was worsening by the day. Not even vampire blood could heal her anymore. Valerie pointed out that a human body couldn't sustain a vampire's soul, meaning the fake Joe had to die again. Caroline hurriedly pulled Valerie away, blaming her for being completely insensitive to others' feelings, and explained Alaric's bloody wedding. Valerie felt a pang of guilt. Caroline and Valerie left, giving Alaric a moment to say goodbye to the fake Joe. In her final moments, the vampire inhabiting Joe's body finally remembered her name and the circumstances of her death. A woman had plunged a sword into her heart, and her soul was trapped in the hell of the Phoenix Stone.
I'm sorry, I'm not her. I wish I was. She was a lucky woman. You could have been an amazing husband.
Alaric had given her a brief taste of freedom, allowing her to feel what it was like to be loved. Although Alaric knew the woman in front of him wasn't his wife, the pain in his heart was still unbearable. He was deeply grateful to her for filling the void of his regrets, allowing him to hear his wife's voice one last time and say the goodbye he never had the chance to. Valerie could empathize with Alaric's pain. His wife and children had died on their wedding day. When Valerie watched the wedding footage, she discovered that the Gemini Coven's final chant before their deaths wasn't a spell to seal Kai, but a spell to save the twins in Joe's womb. They were the hope of the Gemini Coven.
I think your babies are still alive.
Stefan was deeply frustrated by his failure to kill Julian. Damon grew more curious as to why Stefan harbored such hatred for Julian. Stefan finally confessed about Valerie's pregnancy and how she miscarried due to Julian's abuse. Upon learning the truth, Damon immediately changed his mind. His brother always came first. Lily, on the other hand, was disheartened by the changes in Julian. The once charming and witty gentleman had turned into a raging beast. Julian, in turn, accused Lily of changing. In truth, they had both changed. Lily had lived with the Heretics for over a century, and naturally, her feelings for her sons had faded. But the more time she spent with them, the more her motherly love was reawakened. Seeing Lily so resolute, Julian quickly softened his stance. He brought up his horrific experience in the Phoenix Stone, using his suffering to gain Lily's forgiveness. Julian believed the Salvatore brothers wouldn't give up on assassinating him, and he needed to feel safe. Lily wholeheartedly agreed. Valerie cast a locator spell using Alaric's blood, but to their surprise, the blood passed over the map and dripped onto Caroline's foot. Caroline assumed the spell had failed. As she wiped the blood with a tissue, it suddenly ignited in flames. Valerie stared at Caroline in shock, then bluntly stated that the babies were inside Caroline. Caroline was stunned, while Alaric was at a loss for words. After the brothers failed to kill Julian, they learned from their mistakes. They needed to deal with their mother first if they wanted to take down Julian. Lily was deeply trapped in love and unable to see the evil side of Julian. So, the brothers lured their mother to the mansion under the guise of peace talks. When Lily arrived, Stefan asked his mother to help get rid of Julian. Lily's face suddenly changed. To convince her, Stefan had no choice but to reveal the truth about Valerie's pregnancy and how Julian's abuse caused her miscarriage. That was Stefan's son, Lily's grandson. Julian was nothing more than a demon in human skin, but Lily refused to believe it. After all, Valerie had betrayed her. and she suspected that her sons had been misled by Valerie. Besides, if Julian had truly done something so monstrous, why had Valerie kept silent for over a century? Seeing his mother's unwavering trust in Julian, Stefan changed his tone, claiming he regretted believing Valerie's lies. Then he invited his mother to raise a glass with him, to toast to burying the hatchet. Damon was completely baffled, unable to follow his brother's sudden shift. Lily drank the poisoned wine and collapsed unconscious. Damon marveled at his brother's acting and cleverness. Meanwhile, Bonnie and Enzo teamed up and found Oscar's car. Inside the trunk, they discovered a rusty sword, the very treasure Julian had been after. Bonnie looked at the sword, feeling a sense of familiarity. She had come across its description while studying the Phoenix Stone, but hadn't paid much attention at the time. Before her death, the fake Joe had mentioned a woman wielding a sword that harvested vampire souls. It was likely this very sword. Enzo wanted to use the sword to kill Julian. The Salvatore brothers tied Lily up, convinced that their mother had been brainwashed by Julian, just as their father had done to her years ago. The brothers brought up memories of their father to give their mother a point of reference. The most vivid memory Damon had was from Thanksgiving in 1851, when their father forced him to slaughter his pet turkey, Sammy. Damon had no appetite for dinner that night, but their father saw Damon's refusal to eat as weakness and ordered him to finish his plate. Damon had loved Sammy deeply, so he begged his mother for help. But Lily hadn't dared to defy her husband, leaving Damon no choice but to obey. Lily didn't believe she had done anything wrong back then. She thought it was just normal family conflict. The Salvatore brothers continued their story. Their father had sent Lily to the cellar to fetch wine, but it was really just a pretext to get her out of the way, as he had discovered money missing from his desk. He suspected that one of the brothers had stolen it.
Confess here and now, like a man. Who took the money?
To protect his younger brother, Damon confessed to taking the money. Their father calmly asked Damon if he understood what he had done wrong. Damon nodded, thinking the matter was over. However, his father pressed down on his hand.
This is to make certain you remember it.
No wonder Lily never wanted to come home. The family was far too dark. Lily's memories were triggered by the past, and she told the Salvatore brothers that she hadn't gone far that night, which is why she heard Damon's screams. Damon immediately accused her.
You did nothing?
That is not true. Everything that I did...
Suddenly, a knife wound appeared on Lily's neck, shocking both brothers. It turned out that, in order to protect Julian, Lily had the Heretics cast a spell linking her life to his. Damon seemed lost in thought. Meanwhile, Enzo challenged Julian to a sword fight. The wound on Julian's neck had been inflicted by Enzo. Yet, Julian only smiled wider, his passion ignited. However, when Enzo drew an ancient sword, Julian was terrified and immediately fled, even resorting to throwing lime to slow Enzo down, a cowardly move that exposed his fear. Enzo, sword in hand, relentlessly chased Julian, forcing him to fight for his life. The battle intensified. After Damon left, Lily revealed the truth to Stefan. She was the one who had stolen the money. Years ago, she had bought 3 train tickets with the stolen cash, hoping to escape the oppressive household with her 2 sons. But her husband had caught her, and she was brutally beaten for it. It turns out that Lily was also a miserable person. Julian's counterattack overwhelmed Enzo, and just as he was about to decapitate him, Damon joined the fight. Damon had hurried over to kill 2 birds with 1 stone. If Damon hadn't left in such a hurry, he might have been able to understand his mother's plight. Meanwhile, the vampire Caroline had somehow become pregnant, with twins. It turned out that the Gemini Coven, before their demise, had transferred the twins from Joe's womb into Caroline's body. Valerie had uncovered this secret. Caroline took a pregnancy test as Alaric waited expectantly, but the result was negative, which meant that Caroline was not pregnant. Alaric was disappointed. Just then, Caroline received a message from Matt asking her to come to the bar immediately. The humans who had been kept as blood bags were being moved from the high school to the bar. When Caroline arrived, she noticed that none of the humans had bite marks. They hadn't been fed on yet. If they weren't food, what exactly were the heretics keeping them for? Suddenly, Caroline felt a wave of nausea. She lied, saying she had drunk expired blood. In fact, she was deceiving herself. She is afraid to accept the fact that she is pregnant. To free the hypnotized humans, Caroline called Valerie for help. Valerie's siphoning ability could break the vampire's compulsion. From Valerie, Matt learned about the twins. He suspected that Caroline's nausea and vomiting were related to her pregnancy, but Caroline stubbornly refused to admit it. After Valerie freed the humans, Beau arrived on patrol and caught them in the act. Valerie's explanations fell on deaf ears as Beau caught a bullet from Matt with his bare hand. To protect Caroline, Valerie stabbed Beau, then cast an invisibility spell on Caroline. Elsewhere, Bonnie and Alaric were researching ancient texts about the Phoenix Stone and discovered that the sword was called the Phoenix Sword. When the Phoenix Stone and the Phoenix Sword were combined, any vampire killed by the sword would have their soul trapped in the Phoenix Stone. As Damon was celebrating taking down Julian and Lily, Enzo punched him. If Enzo had known that Julian and Lily's lives were linked, he definitely wouldn't have killed Julian. To their shock, Julian revived. It turned out that without the Phoenix Stone embedded in the sword, it couldn't kill vampires. Just as Julian was about to finish off Damon, Lily and Stefan arrived. Julian played the victim, accusing Damon and Enzo of trying to kill him, even after knowing that his life was linked to Lily's. Lily was deeply disappointed in her sons. Before leaving, Julian took the Phoenix Sword with him. Unfortunately, the brothers didn't yet understand the sword's true power. Once the rusty blade was embedded with the Phoenix Stone, it would become a vampire-killing weapon of unimaginable strength. Enzo's heart was shattered. The fact that Lily had linked her life with Julian's made him give up on her completely, so he invited Bonnie out for drinks. Before they knew it,
You're better off without her.
they had become friends. Back at home, Stefan wanted to tell his brother about their mother's hardships, but Damon refused to listen.
She tossed us aside without any concern of what would happen to us, as far as I'm concerned.
A seed of doubt had been planted in Lily's mind. She first questioned Julian, asking why, knowing their lives were linked, he still agreed to duel with Enzo. Julian shrugged it off, saying that as a man he couldn't back down. Besides, he'd never lost a fight before. But Lily was dissatisfied with his answer. She then brought up Valerie's miscarriage. Julian's expression already gave the answer, but he vehemently denied it and changed the subject.
It would destroy me if I ever hurt you. Will you forgive me?
Julian's words were sweet, but they triggered memories for Lily. Memories of her late husband. After he'd abused her, he'd always used similar language to manipulate her. Lily now saw her ex-husband in Julian. But this time, Lily was no longer the weak human she once was. She had the strength to fight back. Having seen Julian's true nature, Lily sought out her sons in the dead of night. She regretted reviving a monster and was willing to join forces with her sons to take him down. Elsewhere, Carolyn, accompanied by Alaric, went to the hospital for a checkup. But the equipment showed no signs of pregnancy, leaving them both confused. Just then, Valerie arrived. The Gemini Coven had hidden the twins using a spell to protect them. With Valerie's siphoning, the two children were revealed on the ultrasound monitor. They were the Gemini Coven's last hope.
They were cloaked.
Will they be able to destroy Julian? And will Caroline keep the babies she's carrying? Will she and Stefan break up because of the children? Stay tuned for more exciting episodes.